Ready?
She is. I'd like to call to order the August 17th, 2026 meeting of the Delray Beach Planning and Zoning Board, 5:01. At this time, Ms. Miller, would you please call the roll?
Jim Chard.
Here.
Mitch Katz.
Here.
Roger Cope.
Here.
Karen Kuzaleski.
Here.
David Strong.
Here.
Price Patton is absent. Gregory Snyder.
Here. At this point, are there any changes or comments about the agenda?
No changes.
Can we get a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Katz, second by Mr. Chard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unopposed? That's approved. And are there any comments on the April 20th or May 18th minutes?
Motion to approve April 20th and May 18th minutes.
I have some comments on the May 18th,
Oh, no, please.
if I may.
Of course. Get your microphone over a little.
Yeah, I'm sorry for Diane. On the May 18th, you indicate that Greg is absent, but that he then on part 5 swore in the public, which is a minor thing. But on 8B for my ex parte, I did not talk to Joy Howell, but I did drive by the site. Thank you.
Okay, then, can we have a motion?
Motion to approve as amended.
Second.
Okay, a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None. Minutes are approved. At this point, we want to swear in anyone who wants to speak to the meeting tonight. If you're going to speak or think you might speak, please stand and get sworn in.
Please raise your right hand by the authority vested in me, the notary of the state of Florida. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay, thank you. At this point, we'll take comments from the public on non-agenda items. If anybody has anything to say about something that's not on our agenda, now's the time to come forward. And seeing no one, public comments closed. We have no presentations, so we'll move on to 8A, the capital improvements plan. Where did I put it? Underneath here.
So Anthea Janiotis, Development Services Director. I'll introduce to you Missy Barletta, the Public Works Director. The capital improvement plan is part of the comprehensive plan, and it has to be adopted as the City Commission adopts the budget. So you are at this point making a recommendation for ordinance number 3826. We update the table in the comp plan to reflect the capital improvement plan. The City Commission does have a workshop. They may change some things from here, but this is the time to give your input. So without further ado, Ms. Barletta will give you an overview.
I'll try the clicker, but it doesn't like me. All right, good evening, everyone. Missy Barletta, Director of Public Works. So we're here to talk about the capital improvement program for the coming year. I would like to preface this by saying there are not a lot of new projects in this year's capital improvement program. There are a lot of existing projects that will be carried forward. We are at the point in our work plan where we are embarking on a lot of very, very large projects at this point. So for the next several years, I think that you'll see that we are not adding a lot of new projects from year to year, but we are continuing to complete existing projects. That being said, our capital improvement funding request for fiscal year 27 is $343,143,389. And if you want to look at it by fund, the largest part of that is made up of the water treatment plant first, which everybody knows the water treatment plant is under construction, closely followed by our general construction fund and our stormwater fund. This shows you the CIP budget by department. Public Works is green, utilities is blue, so you can see who's spending most of your capital improvement funds for the next year. Between those two, police is $11 million. Development services, $5 million, which will be looking at creating better working conditions for the development services and building division in the coming year. So every year I like to provide you with a list of what is highlighted in our budget. As we do every year, there are tree plantings and playground updates. We're just looked at the building division reconfiguration. Beach programs always rank highly on our list, excuse me. And this year we're actually going to recoup some of the initial investment on growing corals by starting to plant corals on the reefs outside the beach. CRA funded projects include Pompey Park construction, Northwest neighborhood improvements, Southwest neighborhood improvements, which are kind of minor at this point, but we're starting on that rather large neighborhood. The Old School Square master plan, we're looking at upgrading the lighting along Swinton Avenue, and also the roll-up shutters that are on the excuse me, on the arcade are problematic. They're broken a lot of the time, and we're looking at replacing those with wrought iron look gates that will match the historic character of the buildings and be far more attractive than the garage door look that's there now. We're also looking at providing some improvements for Fire Station number 111 on West Atlantic to upgrade their courtyard and give that a much nicer aesthetic for looking onto West Atlantic. Some of the Metropolitan Planning Organization projects, which formerly that was the Transportation Planning Agency, they were first MPO, then they became TPO, and now they're MPO again. We're going to be looking at, several years ago we finished repairs to the Brant Bridge that's in the Tropic Palm neighborhood. And this year we're right at the completion of bicycle and pedestrian improvements in the Tropic Palm neighborhood on Lindell Boulevard. In upcoming year, we'll be looking at connecting those two projects with the Brant Bridge connector, which some people also have called the Lindell Loop connector, to make that that bicycle and pedestrian connection in that neighborhood. We'll be looking at moving forward with Barwick Road Phase 2 and Northeast 4th Street beyond Lake Ida Road between Swinton and Federal Highway. One of the things that the Parks and Rec Department will be doing in the coming year is installing artificial turf in a lot of their stadiums and parks underneath playground equipment and on sports fields. They'll be utilizing the Parks and Recreation Government Obligation Bond to begin renovations at Catherine Strong Park. We have very recently completed a space needs analysis for the new police department headquarters, and there are some miscellaneous improvements going on at various fire stations, most of which include creating more restroom availability for female firefighting staff, which when those buildings were built, that was not planned for at that time, as well as doing some of the bigger routine maintenance items with paint and roof replacements, that sort of thing. At the Ocean Rescue headquarters at Anchor Park, we're taking where their first floor garage area is, we're moving the locker rooms and restrooms to that first floor and creating more office space availability for them in that area, as they've very closely outgrown that building. There's the new water treatment plant again. We're also getting ready to begin construction on the Marineway seawall, roadway and drainage improvements project. We are in the midst of completing the Thomas Street pump station rebuild. We are starting to do a complete neighborhood project in Tropic Isle, which includes everything from water and sewer pipes to street lights, sidewalks in very limited areas in that neighborhood, and a lot of roadway reconstruction where the roads have begun to fail in that neighborhood. And then, of course, vehicle and equipment replacements, which we do annually. So at this point, I'm going to go through the individual funds and let you know which fund is paying for which improvement. The special projects fund is made up of in lieu funds for things like for things that you're very familiar with. If someone removes trees, they have to pay into a fund. All of those dollars go into the special projects fund. In the coming year, that will go to continue the city's push to plant 10,000 trees in the city. And if you have questions, feel free to stop me anytime. So the
Okay, so are you going back
shoot.
to work with community greening?
Sorry?
Are you going back to work with community greening?
There is one more year on the community greening contract.
Okay, because
And-
my understanding was we ran out of money this year.
That is true. That contract is completely funded by contributions to the Special Impact Fund. So when there are not contributions, where there are
Right.
not projects that impact the tree canopy, then there's not funding
Okay.
to fund that program.
No, that's wonderful. I really support that.
Missy, does that mean the in lieu fees for tree removal do not go into that fund?
They do go into
They
that
do go
fund.
into that, okay.
But we have, when there's a
issue.
requirement for them, and we've been consistently spending that money on the tree canopy every year for a few years now.
When you guys approve a development and it's got a $35,000 tree trust fund contribution, right? And then it gets approved and it gets certified. Then it might not get built for a couple of years, or it might get sold to a new developer. And the new developer, sometimes, which is great, it's like, why do I have to pay $35,000? And we're like, well, if you hadn't cut down so many trees, and then they'll relook at things, or they spec larger trees. Like, they'll figure out a way sometimes to not impact the tree canopy as much. Or the project never gets built at all. Or the project, none of them get built one year and 4 of them come in the next year. It's private property. We have no way of knowing when the projects are going to come in, which is why there's just a nominal $65,000 estimate for this fund. And when it's there, then we use the contract. Or we may revisit the contract and see if there's a different effort we need to make to get a larger canopy on private property or something. So, but all of those contracts go through the commission, but that's why it's not consistent. We did have a rash of car dealers that were doing a lot of changes. They obviously don't want trees dropping on their inventory, and they made really big checks. What we're seeing now is a lot smaller. So that's why it's an estimate of 65,000.
It's an estimate.
We
Okay,
don't have it, we don't spend it.
Mitch.
You said you certify the plans and then you build them, right?
Well, it's due, the fee is due at building permit because the
building
trees are
permit.
still there.
Can we, because the trees are still there.
Well, and there's always a chance somebody else will come in with a different vision and maybe not cut the trees down that the neighborhood doesn't want to see removed. So we
Yeah.
don't,
Well,
Okay,
yeah.
but it makes me happy if they don't cut trees down, and if they do cut them down, then they have to pay to get trees planted. I mean, that seems like a reasonable solution.
Schedule is more the issue.
Mhm.
But the fee goes with the property, not with the owner, right? If the owner changes?
The fee goes with the project. If you're going to build that project, the fee is due.
the development application.
Whoever it is. If you get it approved and you owe $135,000 in tree trust funds and Mr. Strawn buys the project from you and comes in 2 years later to pull a permit, he owes the money that you owed because that's part of the project,
Okay.
Unless he change, then he could change
But
the
he can
project.
change it.
which is also why due diligence is an important part of buying projects.
Sorry, Missy, please.
I had questions from before. Do you want me to wait from the previous slide or ask them now?
Go.
So the Barwick Road is the phase 2. I'm assuming phase 1 is almost done? I keep hearing it's done, and then people are saying, "Oh, they're starting over again." And
They're not starting over again. Phase 1 is getting very close to completion. There have been significant challenges on that project that it is past, it's over schedule at this point. We have actually finished with substantial completion. They have a very long punch list.
I'm sure.
So technically, once you reach substantial completion on the project, they have 30 days to finish their punch list and vacate the property. They say they're going to make it. We have our concerns.
Right. And then the other, I'm assuming the next is a lot shorter. There's not as many ingress to neighborhoods as there are on that side, so it should be hopefully a little smoother.
Yeah, I do feel like the next phase will be a little bit smoother. I know that the community has been raising concerns about things like taking down the guardrails and that sort of thing. So we have done additional studies on whether the guardrails should stay or go, on the location of the mid-block crosswalk for the school kids, on a variety of things like that. And we've taken a second look at how the cars queue for the school. So that's delaying the completion of those plans, but we're getting very close now. And I think that a lot of the concerns that have been raised by the community up until now will be addressed in a way that they're going to be happy.
That's good to hear. I know there's been a lot of talk,
Yes.
put it politely. Another question was, you mentioned Swinton and Atlantic on the list, or at least I saw it on the list here. We received, I believe, some state appropriations this year for that.
We
So I'm
did.
guessing since we did, that money must be spent this year. Is that correct, how that works?
Yes, we received a state appropriation for that. That is being run through the Florida Department of Transportation to the city, and they have changed as a local agency project. They have changed some of their LAP project requirements, and they are somewhat onerous. So I'm just to ameliorate everybody's expectations on that. We are looking at whether or not we can afford to take their money before we do the project. So just so you know, I mean, I haven't even had this conversation with Terrence yet, so you have insider baseball information now. But we are looking at that as a potential. We would not begin to construct that project until next fiscal year at any rate, because there's just not the funds available to begin this year.
Does
One
FDOT,
last-
I'm sorry,
So go ahead.
does FDOT dictate the design to the city for that interchange?
They do not dictate the design, but they dictate the support elements that we have to do, such as if one of the things that they're discussing now is that there has to be a NEPA evaluation, a very detailed environmental evaluation with every lab project. Well, this particular project is in an already developed area. There's
Yeah,
absolutely no need to say that it's going to have a greater or lesser impact on the environment because it's going to be the same.
I just
So-
know that with further north on Swinton, they dictated the design of the street and the sidewalks. And since Atlantic and Swinton is on Main and Main of Delray, and has a lot of pedestrian traffic there, and we'll have more with the restaurants and so forth, that it really seems to me that the city needs to dictate that, not the state.
Well, we'll have to get state permits. We'll have to get DOT permits, and we'll have to comply with their permitting requirements. But they're not. We actually have been working for the last couple of years very, very closely with both the county for traffic management and the Department of Transportation, because right now State Road 806 is under state jurisdiction. I will also tell you that we're looking at bringing forward an opportunity for the city to take jurisdiction of West Atlantic from, right now we have from Swinton to Federal Highway to the east, but we're asking to take jurisdiction from Swinton to Northwest 12th Avenue, so that West Atlantic will be under city jurisdiction, which gives us a lot more flexibility in how we develop that area and how we implement things like the West Atlantic redevelopment plan and those types of things. So that's also in
That's great.
the works.
As you know, we looked at that about 10 years ago, and the state said, sure, as long as you pay for the maintenance.
Sure.
It will be.
It's-
That's always going to be the case.
Well,
We take.
It makes sense, but
It is and it isn't. So the state's going to come in and fix what's not fixed right now before we take jurisdiction. So if we get something that's been improved, then we are happy with moving forward with doing the continued maintenance.
congratulations, that's a great
Thank
great
you.
solution.
Thank you.
Mitch?
One last thing is Marine
I
Way.
knew you weren't done.
Marine Way. So can we surely say that it will start construction this year?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We have awarded the contract. We are in the process of working out the guaranteed maximum price because it's a construction manager at risk project. So we're working on one of the differences between that type of project and other projects is that we take all of the plan sets and we sit down with the contractor and the engineering designer, and we work out all potential conflicts or perceived areas of conflicts in advance of the project, and we agree on what that agreed upon, with all of those solutions in place, what that should cost the city, and then we bring that guaranteed maximum price back to commission. Right now, we're in the process of working on that. We expect to get started on construction with that within the next 3 to 4 months.
That'd be great.
Great.
Can't wait to
It's
see
been a
it.
long time
Groundbreaking,
coming.
You'll get a lot of people
I
out.
can retire after that project is done.
Well, that was the first
because
thing when you started, so
No, you can't.
I can.
No, you can't.
thank you. That's all I had.
Did you, somebody have something? Can I ask you this about the Atlantic and Swinton thing?
Mhm.
Is there a design, what we expect it to be?
Yes, we
And
do
can you
have
give me
design.
like
We've had we've had a couple of public meetings about what the design is going to be. So it will change the traffic pattern in that intersection somewhat, in that we're looking to begin to provide bypass traffic that's not necessarily headed to a destination on East Atlantic,
Right.
to start encouraging that traffic to come off of East Atlantic on Second before it gets all the way
Yeah.
down to that intersection.
Great.
So there will be bypasses available at Second, also at First for people who want to park at the new Sunday Village facility. But there you can still turn south onto Swinton from the intersection, from the Swinton and Atlantic intersection. The main parts of the intersection are that right now on the west side of that intersection crossing Atlantic is very, very, very wide, and it is dangerous for pedestrians.
Yeah.
So we will be shortening up that walking distance, providing a median in the middle so that what we call sanctuary for people who are walking across, so they have a place to pause if the light changes on them, where they're still in a safe spot before they get to the other side of the road. We have evaluated a number of different safety precautions for pedestrians, including all phase red, so that all pedestrian phases. One of the problems with that is that we don't control our own traffic lights in the city. The county controls our traffic lights. And while they're happy to work with us on this, and they have done, they have really stepped up to the plate and worked with us on some of these things. If you go to a certain type of all-phase red, you have to have that all the time. You can't only implement it on Thursday, Friday, Saturday night when there's a lot of foot traffic downtown. So there are other types of all-phase red that we can do just at various times. So one of the things that might surprise people is that they think that there's no place in the city that has an all pedestrian phase traffic signal now, but Atlantic and A1A does have all pedestrian phase crossing now. So they're in that regular cycle. There are times when all directions of traffic are stopped and people can cut across the road in whatever direction they need to go.
The barn stands. That's what they call that, right?
I guess some
Yeah.
people call it that.
Barns dance after
Oh, the barn.
landscape architect, I believe. Going back to diversion for a second, is there any thought about diversion of traffic coming on on Swinton, particularly from the north going south, to have that going around the interchange rather than through it?
The problem with that is that there's no place to do that we would not be routing traffic through a residential neighborhood. So that creates its own types of safety issues and is not something that we would recommend. We have looked at doing to accommodate all the people who cannot walk to the corner at Swinton and Atlantic to cross the street from here to Old School Square. We are looking at putting in a mid-block crosswalk there that will have flashing lights and have people stop for pedestrians.
And and I'll stop.
that's
On
fine.
east-west diversion, we at one time had one-way streets east-west to encourage diversion, and then we decided not to do that. And I'm just wondering, if you do divert off of Atlantic onto 2nd Avenue, where do you then continue west? On 2nd Street or 1st Street?
On First Street. So you don't go all the way into the residential neighborhood. You would turn turn on First Street and cut back down to Swinton. So you really have only missed that intersection by a block. And then we would also direct beach traffic that way to head down to First Street and then either go, the twisty turny way back to Linton or go straight down to Atlantic and then head to Linton to go to the beach.
Thanks, Missy. We'll let you continue your presentation.
Okay. Well, I feel like the rest of it's going to go fast because all of that stuff is on the future slides. So this is the recreation impact fee. This is what people pay for impact fees for recreation when they do their permit applications. This fund is generally used for, this year it's going to be used for replacement of pavilions and parks and continued playground updates. The Parks Department has put in some amazing and creative playgrounds in the last few years. They're going to continue that. And then in future years, keeping in mind that the CIP is only guaranteed funding for 1 year, just for fiscal year 27, and what we show here for the future years out to fiscal year 31, those are what we expect to spend in the future. But those funds are not dedicated. Those are just our expectations. So the gas tax. I'm going to talk about this one and this one, Funds 120 and 121 together, because what you may not realize is that the City of Delray Beach has both a 5-cent gas tax and a 6-cent gas tax. These funds are required to be spent on pedestrian and transportation improvements. This year we have in the 120 gas tax fund, we have $100,000 set aside to continue to implement our ADA transition plan, making facilities more available to persons with disabilities. In this fund this year, in the 121 gas tax, you'll see that there is $1 million transfer out from this fund into the general construction fund. That will be used as matching funds for some of the MPO transportation grants, again, Tropic Isle neighborhood for those roadway projects. So the gas tax funds will be used appropriately. And then there's $300,000 that will be setting back to restart our roadway preservation and restoration annual fund after we get some of these really big neighborhood projects and some of these MPO projects done, which are really addressing the worst streets in the city. Then we'll get the regular fund restarted. This is why I hate this thing. So you want to talk about the building fund?
So we're going to title this part Elections Have Consequences. So we have been working in a building that has multiple active leaks that we constantly chase, not enough space, space that is not sort of appropriately allocated. So we have some very junior level folks that have been shifted over to where HR moved out to the train station, and they've got really big offices with doors and windows. We have more senior level people on the other side. They're like working out of a cubby. So Missy and I were working on reconfiguring this building, and we spent a year or two, went through 2 architects trying to figure out ways where we could all fit. One of the aspects we were trying really hard to incorporate was to improve security. As those of you know, we have 2 lobbies. We have no metal detectors. We have no way that anyone signs in. We usually, up until we got Officer Rumi a couple of years ago, we honestly just called the biggest people on the floor when there was a problem to come forward, and that really isn't their job, to improve security. So now we have Officer Rumi. He's wonderful. He definitely helps de-escalate, but he is sort of shared between the parking lot, and sometimes he's out there helping someone whose car hasn't worked, or he's at our lobby trying to, settle folks down, or he's over here because the manager's having a problem and he floats, and he's been just such a wonderful addition. But that said, if you look at any other city hall, there's just a certain level of innate control and access. Whatever. You all watch the news. We don't have to go into it. So that configuration proved challenging to fit everybody in the existing buildings. So we had an RFP that was on the street for 3 days to build an addition to this building to fit everybody. And then the Florida legislature passed a law editing the portion of the statute about building fund fees. And it says you cannot construct a building with these fees. So we had $10 million pulled aside to build an addition based off of building fees. I guess Tallahassee thinks the taxpayer should have to pay for that part. I don't know. We had to take the RFP down. These funds are not allowed to be used for general fund purposes. If you have taken in more than you can use under the ways you can spend it, then you are to give it all back to the people who pulled permits. You don't get to keep it. You can't spend it on parks. Apparently you can't build a building with it. So we are regrouping. They finally signed it this July. So we were hoping maybe somebody that the governor liked was going to say, wait a minute, I was going to build a building, and he'd veto it, but he didn't. So we right now are going back to shifting to trying to reconfigure the space that we have. And I suspect that this will change for fiscal year 2027-28, and it probably won't have any money there. But we will regroup on that one. So we're back to trying to reconfigure to fit everybody. And that's it. But we did get the rug pulled out from under us, and we had the money. So I'm still sad. So that's that. Yes.
Question. So I know you're saying that you can renovate with it. You just can't build like an addition. Correct? Is that what they're saying?
Well, yes. I've so far
But you can't
convinced
renovate
everyone
it.
else in the building that
So if
this
you were to
is.
put another floor above you, wouldn't that just be renovating?
I think that, unfortunately, I think that constructing structural aspects, I think where we were drawing the line. Our next discussion internally is to see if leasing space is also prohibited, but we don't have that answer yet. So we've just started that. Well, if we can't build it, can we rent it? So we're just trying to figure
So
that
you could
out.
put portable pods. Some of these pods are nice, but yeah.
Right. I mean, we've talked about portables. Now that we're not solely on paper, the thing that had stopped us, but then I don't know, then we're buying buildings. So it's just, to me, we had a funding source that supported this exact activity. It didn't deal with the taxpayers, and I don't understand how developer friendly we need to be to do. I'll stop now here. Home rule.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
Okay. So beach restoration, these are our normal activities for our beach program. They are funded from a variety of sources. So there is some state funding through the DEP. There is federal funding when we have a beach renourishment project. We get some funding from Palm Beach County through an interlocal agreement we have with their Division of Environmental Resource Management. They are funded by bed tax. So some of the bed taxes that get paid here in Delray Beach come back to us through the county. All of these things are normal things that we fund every single year in almost exactly this same funding amount, except for the reef planting program, which we will begin this year at $110,000. And that includes planting the program, planting the little baby corals on the reef, and also the routine monitoring that has to happen through the Reef Institute. Yeah. Okay. And here's the big fund, the general construction fund. I know you're used to us bringing you a lot of the programs and projects through this fund. This first page is just revenue sources for the general construction fund. As you can see, the vast majority of our resources come through the Community Redevelopment Agency to us. There are also roadway, pedestrian, transportation projects through the Metropolitan Planning Organization. We have here listed the state appropriation for Swinton and Atlantic intersection improvements at $1 million. We have an interlocal partnership with the city of Boynton Beach to improve Gulfstream Boulevard, which you may or may not know, the city boundary goes straight down the middle of Gulfstream Boulevard. So we have an interlocal agreement with them to make improvements there in the coming year. On their side of the boundary, they're going to be doing roadway improvements, but also they have water and sewer improvements that are desperately needed on their side. On our side, we're doing roadway improvements and sidewalk, and we actually got a state appropriation last year for $1 million of our $1.6 million commitment toward this project. So these are the ways that we're going to spend all that money that other people are giving us. It's other people's expenses all the way down here. You will see that the Crest Theater auditorium renovation, we will not start that until fiscal year 28 and probably finish it in fiscal year 29. The police department is in need of replacing their laptops that go into their patrol units. They have been putting that off for several years, and this year that has come home to roost. They are going to have the funds to move forward with that this year. So there's one of the new things up there that we haven't talked about yet is also on Lowson Boulevard at the Tri-Rail crossing on Lowson Boulevard, 10th Street. We are making some pedestrian improvements there and finishing the sidewalk. That was all part of the Lowson Boulevard TPA then project that both FDOT and SFRTA, the South Florida Railway Transportation Authority, they want to do that work themselves. So we will be contracting with them to finish up that work. And so now in that one place under I-95, you'll see that the rest of that project corridor will be completed, and that's been a long time coming. Mm-hmm.
Could I just ask, going back to the Lindell Loop,
Mm-hmm.
I'm never sure when you're hitting the button to move on.
She's hitting the buttons,
Oh,
so
okay.
it's all. She went back.
I think the Lindell Loop is a great idea, and I hadn't really heard about that before, that you are connecting the Brant Bridge to Lindell. And I would like to suggest for future reference the connection north across Lindell to Leon Weeks Park, because there's all sorts of hiking and walk and biking area back in there. And if we're trying to put some networks together over time, and we can connect the Brant Bridge to the Lindell and then on up to Leon Weeks, you could do that just with painting on the street. You didn't really, because it's a very low volume street, and just to sort of show the way. And Parks Department has done a very great children's facility there, so I think
It's one of the
fits together.
playground improvements that they've done in the last couple of years, and it's very nice. Ready? Okay, so the government obligation bond for Parks and Recreation was in the amount of $20 million. The public voted to spend that money. We are beginning the public restrooms in the parks renovation here in the next couple of months. The first ones that are going to be done are Orchard Park and Miller Park. The Sarah Gleason bathroom at Atlantic and A1A is on the list, but there is quite a bit of underground plumbing improvement that's going to have to happen to improve those restroom facilities, and that's still in the permitting process. So it's those. We were trying to get Sarah Gleason first because of community requests, but the timing didn't work out that way, and we didn't want to hold up the other projects just so that Sarah could go first. So, yes. So this is the public safety government obligation bond. This was $100 million voted by the public. It includes construction of a new police department headquarters, which we are well on our way to doing that. The renovation of the ocean rescue, locker room and storage improvements, and then improvements at Fire Station 111 and 115, which we talked about earlier in the meeting. Mitch has a question.
Just a quick question. Are we really spending $100 million on the police department?
93 million, yes. And that won't get us as big a building as we would like to have. It's building prices right now are right around $850 a square foot. They have just gone up incredibly, and they go up every year.
Could I ask you a question about the Parks bond? There was some debate about whether or not the bond specifies the projects that are in that bond and whether or not they could be moved around. Is that still an issue, or how has that been resolved?
No, I believe that issue has been resolved. With the Parks Department, when they brought their public information forward, was very clear about improvements to Catherine Strong Park and also to restroom facilities in a variety of different park facilities. So the majority of the funds are being spent in that way.
So in effect, they're already allocated. They could not be allocated to a different project,
I mean, like croquet?
like croquet.
How did I know you were talking about that?
The croquet was not included in the original advertising for those project funds, so that particular project fund cannot be used for that purpose.
Thank you.
So, and this is water and sewer revenue. This is how much the utilities department brings in revenue for capital improvement projects. And these are all the things that they're going to be spending them on in the coming year. So don't ask me a lot of questions about these. This is Hassan's area, but I can tell you the highlights. There will be water and sewer network improvements associated with the Tropic Isle Neighborhood Improvements Project, also with the Marine Way seawall and roadway improvements project. There's some funding allocated here for the water treatment plant, and then a lot of the rest of the projects that are here are pretty technical in nature, and they're designed to move either potable water or the other kind from one spot to another, either to your house or away from it. Yeah, and Hassan would be here with me tonight, but he had to be somewhere else. The
Yeah,
Water
so
Management District.
Smart man.
So I would rare time that I would prefer to be presenting than at the Water Management District, which is where he had to go. Okay, so in the coming year, we expect to spend $136 million on the water treatment plant. As you can see, there's an expected additional $8 million the following year, which we expect to have the new water treatment plant online by early in calendar year 29.
Calendar year 29?
Municipal golf course. You see, we're not asking for any money at all this year. That's because by the end of this calendar year, you're going to have a brand new golf course. So that's being paid for by a revenue bond that the city put out, where all of the both the greens, the golf course holes are all being renovated, from irrigation to new bathroom facilities. The golf course clubhouse also is being renovated with new air conditioning and updated for a more modern look. Lakeview Golf Course. So the golf cart storage at Lakeview is inadequate. We're expanding that. We're pushing out a roof. This year we'll be finishing that. Next year they're looking at buying new golf course equipment, and they have some money set aside for clubhouse renovations at Lakeview as well. So this is the stormwater utility. This is another fund where there are a variety of different revenue incomes. We have income from a utility assessment that comes on your tax bill every year that is not the same as millage rate or property tax. It's an independent assessment. In 2023, we reevaluated how these assessments are developed so that it's more equitable based on the individual property owner's contribution to the system, right? So it's based on, before it was just based on one house, one fee. Everybody paid $69.50 annually for stormwater management. And now it's based on the amount of square footage on your property that has impervious surface, that has surface that the water won't soak in, it runs off. So there are several tiers based on the amount of square footage for an individual home. The smallest tier, the tier 1, is homes that are under 2,000 square feet. They are still paying less now than they paid in the original $69.50. So there's now categories for commercial development to contribute to this fund, as well as very large 10,000 square foot and up homes that are virtually making their entire lot impervious surface. So that's one revenue income. We are also looking at doing a revenue bond to support some of the major project construction. In this category, we have a number of around $63 million in state resiliency grants for various projects that's supporting the Marine Way Seawall project. Some of that funding went to the Thomas Street Pump Station project and Tropic Isle neighborhood improvements projects. So those three things. The stormwater master plan is being updated through a grant from the Florida Department of Emergency Management, George Bush drainage improvements, and the rest of these Northeast 13th Street drainage improvements, Palm Trail, various stormwater pump station repairs, a new CCTV truck. The rest of those are being, for the most part, funded through the revenue bond, and then we use the annual utility assessment to pay the debt service on that.
Missy, there's a number of grants that you've mentioned on this page and previous ones.
Mm-hmm.
Who writes the grants for us? Because we don't have a grants writer. Is that your department?
Yeah, the Public Works Department writes the grants.
You should be congratulated and make more noise about that.
Well, you don't want to brag.
Right.
So, and then the last fund that we're going to present tonight is the City Garage Fund. We'll spend $4 million next year in brand new vehicles. We implemented a program 2 years ago to utilize lease to own, a lease to own process that we spend far less money out of our pocket in order to get the cars, and then we pay debt service on them every year. And it is more fiscally efficient for us to do it that way. And we're able to keep a more modern fleet, which cuts down on maintenance expense and that sort of thing. And that is the end of my part. This is not my slide.
So everything that Missy has shown you goes into a table. It is table 1 of the capital improvements plan. And so that is technically the ordinance that's before you tonight is an update to that per state statute. You are to review and make a recommendation. There's a workshop tomorrow at 4 o'clock on this exact topic. So you've gotten a preview. Our comp plan requires that the capital improvement plan is reviewed by this board and for consistency. So there's a few policies laid out that implement. And the biggest issue, the foundation of our capital improvement plan is if it's dangerous, you have to prioritize fixing that first. Like it kind of goes like that old Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like you have to make sure everything is safe, and then you work your way up to art and culture and things. So that is it. If you have any comments that you would like us to bring forward to the workshop tomorrow, this is your opportunity. And otherwise, you need to make a recommendation on the ordinance.
Thank you. Well, let's start around the room. Roger, do you have any comments?
Very impressive presentation. Chair, I think this is actually a public hearing, so you need to take public comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So public comment on this capital improvement plan, if anyone would like to come forward and speak. Jeff, no? All right, public comments closed. Thanks.
Is the workshop tomorrow open to the public?
It's here.
Yes.
Yeah, the
You
regular.
can sleep on it and come
Commission
at 4.
Or not.
Dietrich? No. Mitch,
I'm ready to make a motion.
hang on.
I know.
Jim,
I'm
what
just-
else do you have?
Well, most of it I've just left on the paper. So, the table that you just showed us, Anthea, that is that CIE Capital One or
Yeah, it's in the backup.
Capital,
how does that
capital-
tie to what we just went through in terms of budget?
It's all on there.
It's all there.
Everything is here, but so this is the legal document in order to approve it. Is that
Right. I mean, the city is going to approve its budget, but the state statute requires that the 5-year capital improvement plan be updated annually in the comprehensive plan. So
Right.
there's a companion ordinance that goes along that ultimately this table will be adjusted to reflect the commission's decisions and direction. But this is the draft going into that process.
okay?
In the past, we've gotten 30 some odd pages with every item on its own page. Do you know what, Missy, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's the capital improvement budget. This proposed capital
Okay.
improvement plan hasn't been
Understand.
presented to commission yet.
Okay,
After tomorrow, they'll make recommendations.
I mean,
They
I-
may have things that they want us to change. Once that's done, then we'll complete the capital improvement book.
Yeah.
And that's where all of those individual
fine.
sheets come
and I
in.
understand the difference between the plan and the budget. I didn't realize that was what
Yeah.
it was.
And then there's yet another public hearing in September where they actually adopt it.
Okay.
Ready?
This time.
Provide a
No,
statement.
no, not right. I got two more things that I want to ask about. The two things
No,
that
you're
I
right.
don't hear in this whole presentation that I just wonder about. And I think I might have missed a comment earlier, but there's nothing about providing reclaimed water to the neighborhoods. Is that, I know that's not you, and he's not here, but isn't that something that the city was trying to do?
Yes, there was a program to provide reclaimed water, not necessarily to the neighborhoods,
but
but in
through
order
this-
to dispose of reclaimed water from the wastewater treatment plant before it enters the ocean.
Yeah, well-
So there was statute that required the city to look at that. The South County wastewater treatment plant actually constructed in the last couple of years a deep injection well that takes care of that process. So the efforts by the utility department to get the reclaimed water out to the individual homeowners is right now, I don't think Hassan will kill me for saying this, but it's taking a bit of a backseat to the construction of the
yeah,
water
okay.
treatment plant.
It's on the same property, right?
I want to get it.
There's also a deadline of that
Well-
water can't even be injected after a certain year. I remember when I was on the board, there's requirements to get more of it used over years and not rejected, because we do have that also occasionally when it doesn't all make it there, it goes out and then we get fined.
Yeah, that's okay. I understand what's going on now. The other thing that concerns me and a number of other people in the city, and I think I understand why it's not on this plan at this moment, is the cemetery. I think it's going to have to maybe not. I mean, obviously, after the workshop tomorrow, then we're going to get an update from Mr. Moore about the cemetery. And
You will
obviously,
get
nothing is going to happen until at least that comes out, and then there's blah, 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 blah.
Well, in this year's capital improvement program, there is a mausoleum under construction at the cemetery now.
Oh, it now, okay.
So
That was last year, yeah.
there will be a couple of mausoleums that are built that will increase the ability to have space
Yeah.
for your loved ones in the future at the cemetery. Most of the ground plots have been sold.
Yeah. So,
Most or all?
And resold.
all. But yeah, but if I care about that, that would be a good thing for 4 o'clock tomorrow, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
that there is a separate fund that runs the cemetery that does all of that. The mausoleums are actually, I mean, there are a lot of projects that are being built right now
Right.
that were funded in this year's capital improvement program, but each capital
Yeah.
improvement program looks forward for 5
Right.
years and doesn't say what we're spending this year.
Thank you. Okay, Mitch.
Provide a statement of finding, make a motion to provide a statement of finding that the proposed 5-year capital improvement plan for FY 2026 to 27 through FY 30 to 31 and the FY 2026 to 2027 capital improvement budget as set forth in number 38-26 are consistent with the comprehensive plan.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Katz, second by Mr. Cope. I think we should call a roll, Ms. Miller.
Jim Charn,
Yes.
Mitch Katz,
Yes.
Roger Cope,
Yes.
Karen Kuzilewski,
Yes.
Derek Stone,
Yes.
Price Patton is absent, Gregory Snyder.
Yes, that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Very impressive, very impressive.
Yes, very nice. Okay, moving on to our friends from the CRA.
Sierra is next.
And Renee, have you been sworn in? Diane,
My phone
please.
thinks we're saying Syria, not Sierra.
Anyone else hasn't been
lighting up.
sworn in that needs to be?
Please raise your right hand. By the authority vested in me, the notary of the state of Florida, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Haven't said that. It's nice to see you.
All right, good evening, everyone. Renee Jadising, Executive Director, Delray Beach CRA. I'm joined here of our staff, Christine Tibbs and Ivan Cabrera. We've been working very diligently on an amendment to our CRA plan, and we're very happy to present it to you today. All right. So our plan was last adopted in 2014. The initial plan was started up in 1985, so we've been here since then, doing great work. And good practice is usually to update these plans every 5 to 7 years. So we started on this update, I think around 2018-19, took a pause for COVID and picked it back up again. So here's an overview of the changes. We wanted to keep the really the bones of our plan intact because we think it's still a great plan. It just needed some updates, revising some of the projects, removing some of the things that have been done, and moving that to a separate appendix. So that's really the crux of what we were doing. So overall, we updated maps. We made it a lot more user-friendly. If you see in your backup, it looks very interactive. We're going to try to make it clickable after. That was a big point for us to try to make it really visually appealing for people to share the information as well as make it something easy to look at. We also updated our CRA needs and goals based on feedback we received from the community and also updates to the Florida statutes that have happened since 2014. And we made a point to connect the needs and goals to the things in the statute. There was a big update to the statute and CRA statute in 2019 that really limited a little bit more what CRAs can do. So we wanted to make it really, really clear of what we can and can't do and tie those statute numbers specifically into the plan. We also updated the narratives based on current conditions of what the needs are currently, and you'll see that in the overall update. We updated the plan needs overall. We also highlighted ongoing projects that we have, and again, made sure to connect those with the needs and goals and the statute. And we also incorporated demographic information into the plan as well. So as I mentioned, we retained the core subject matter of the 2014 plan. We think it's still a great plan. There's just a lot more work that we still need to do on it. Just wanted to do some minor updates. So on the left-hand side, you'll see the table of contents. On the right-hand side, that from the initial, and then the right-hand side, you'll see the 2026. We try to color code it so everything, the headings all code to a chapter within the plan. And you can see where things kind of crossed over and are the same. So if you see the needs and goals, we shift that over, problems and needs, and then we shift that over to needs and goals. Background's still the same, but again, more user-friendly and easier to see. Here's just more illustration of how the old plan tied into the new plan, and things just shifted over from one to the other. Here's a summary of the updates to the maps, graphics, and project progress. So you'll see the cover. We changed that from the existing, the current plan of the 2014 and then to the 2026. And here are some of the images in the maps. And here are the updates. This will show you an overview of the user-friendly highlights that we did in the layout and content. So I just showed you the table of contents, more condensed. And then we did the color coding that does carry throughout. And we also added icons that you'll see at the top that tie into each element of things that we're doing in the plan. And here's a summary of the sub-areas. So before we had two different sections that gave overviews of information of the sub-areas, and now we condense it into one. And here's what each section looks like for our needs and goals. So you'll have the need, the goal, and strategies, and you'll see kind of in the top area here, the Florida statute reference is right there of where this is coming from. All All right, and this is an update of the needs and goals based on the feedback that we received and the statute. So here's an overview of the needs and goals. At the bottom, you'll see what the existing are, and you'll see how they've translated to the new plan. So we still have the removal of silt and blight, land use, development investment. We changed that from economic development. We had a couple different sections that referred to housing. We just tied that all into one and titled it housing. We also have infrastructure and mobility improvements, public asset and facilities, and policing innovation is the one that is new that we added. And this is just showing you where they were before and then where we brought them into the new plan with the arrows. All right, and this is connecting the needs and goals and projects, initiatives to relevant sections of the statute, which I mentioned. So each one will have this line right here. We circled it in yellow, but that'll give you the statute reference of how we tied it together. We updated the narratives to reflect current conditions, community needs, and priorities. So you'll see this is how the narratives look. So each chapter has a brief summary on the front page of what you'll be looking at when you go into the section. And here's more showing the narratives. This is some of the information we got from our public meetings. We condensed them all so they're here by subject underneath each one of the needs and goals. All right, and this is a highlight of the projects that we have going on currently. So on the left-hand side, you'll see the table that had the projects. On the right-hand side, you'll see how we tied it together. So you'll have the elements that we have those icons for on the top and check boxes where which need and goal it ties into as you go throughout the tables. And here's a summary of the overall project. So we try to highlight some of the larger ones. The Northwest Neighborhood Infrastructure Project, some of the development of West Atlantic are all highlighted here. And then we have our programs that we have carrying forward, the Paint, Sip, and Signage, Project Consultancy and Design, and Site Development Assistance Program. And these are the redevelopment projects. So this is what the current plan, the 2014 plan, has for redevelopment projects. And then this is the table that I just kind of went through in a larger format where you can see you have the checks that show which goal that this project is meeting. And here we have for the programs, this is how the current program section looks. And then here's the updated with the table format and the check marks. And then here's incorporating some of the data and demographic profiles into the sub-areas using the most recent census data and projection data. So here are those examples of the tables. And this is just giving you a breakdown by sub-area. So sub-area 1 and 8, just as an example.
Can you zoom in on those at all?
I don't think so. Can I zoom?
No?
I don't think I know.
Okay.
It's in the backup if you have the plan. It's in the backup of the plan. All right, and the governing body. So the CRA was established in 1985. The Palm Beach County also gave a delegation to the city of Delray Beach to oversee our CRA wholly and completely. So as a result, the Delray Beach CRA's governing body is given authorization to adopt by majority vote the 2026 amendment to the CRA redevelopment plan. And next steps, we have first reading at City Commission, hopefully in the fall, and also second reading. And then this is basically the overview by statute. So we're allowed to amend our plan. We have to have public meetings and publish a notice in a newspaper having general circulation. And we will publish this notice before the fall meetings for the City Commission. This is an overview of information about our sunset date. So we were created in 1985, and at that time, CRAs could be in existence for 60 years. So in our 2014 plan amendment, our sunset date was approved as September 16th, 2044. In 2019, the Florida legislature enacted a statute that says that all CRAs must sunset at 2039 unless we've extended by vote of our governing body. In our case, the governing body would be the city. So we brought this to the City Commission in November 1st, 2021, which brought our sunset date back to September 16th, 2044. And so with this amendment, we retain that current sunset date of September 16th, 2044. And that date is important, I'll just add in here, really for bonding purposes. I know there's a lot of work that we need to do as well, but for projects like the Northwest Neighborhood Infrastructure Project, we're looking to take out a bond. So obviously you want the longest term possible for the repayment of the bond. We also are looking at the larger Southwest Neighborhood Infrastructure Project, which will likely need a bond because those projects are north of $100 million probably each. So that's why, you know, retaining that date is very important to keep us in existence. Besides just doing awesome things that we do all the time, we want to make sure that we have that capability to support the bonds that will be issued for these larger projects. And also pursuant to the Florida statutes, the comprehensive plan, our plan amendment has to basically align with and conform with the policies in the goals and objectives and policies in the Always Delray Beach plan. So we confirmed and checked that nothing is in conflict with that. So we are consistent with the comprehensive plan based on our review. And this is basically the action that we're looking for. We would like you all to recommend that the City of Delray Beach adopt the Amendment 2026 CRA Amendment, and based upon the findings, proposed changes are consistent in goals and objectives and policies of the adopted comprehensive plan and substantially the attached form is the backup. That's all I have for you today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public hearing, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Do we have any public comment on this issue? If anyone would like to step up. Seeing no one, public comments closed.
I have a question.
Go right ahead.
Under page 52, under the sub-area 3, you list challenges and opportunities. One of the challenges is limited major private investment in the new development.
Yes.
My guess is since the CRA owns the majority of the property in that, you're not going to have private investment because there's no land for them to invest in. Has there been thought of opening any of that land up to just allow somebody to buy it and develop?
Well, we've had several RFPs, as you know, so we've been in the process of preparing new RFPs for the properties that we do own. So we actually,
I know the 3 blocks, but there's
Yes.
other properties as well. I mean, there's a
Well,
lot of property.
So there's 4 blocks that we're looking at, 3 on the south side and 1 on the north side that we were able to acquire more of a rectangular, like a more complete
Right.
block that's about 2 acres. The other ones are smaller, so we hadn't really talked about those smaller ones. We have them in our annual work plans as like a project, but we don't have it as with that we're putting out RFPs at this point. I think also, considering where they are, maybe the adjacent owners would want to sell to us as opposed to them selling. I know that there's been instances where some of the private developers have come to us and said, hey, I own this property or I'm interested in buying it. And I say, hey, keep in touch, let's see what's going on. Because we don't want to lose the asset, I guess, if it's not going to be developed. Because then they're just holding it, not us, I
Right.
guess, so.
That was it.
Excellent. Has there been any thought given to just, let me start back a different way. RFPs can be very complicated.
Yes.
They can be very prescriptive.
Yes.
And they may or may not really sort of be in alignment with what a private developer wants. Has there, and they take a long time and sometimes don't result in anything.
Yes.
Has there been any thought given to outright selling the land without the provisions of an RFP?
So by statute, we have to put out a 30-day notice of intent to sell, basically, so there has to be some sort of public process. There is also the unsolicited proposal process. It's in the Florida statutes, which we are considering one right now. So there are ways that it can be done if there's that much of an interest to take that step. Like I've met with people and I've told them, hey, if you're really interested, come on, there's opportunities here. If you really want to, like I said, we've had the unsolicited proposals. More recently, I think since last year to now, we've had about 2 or 3 that have come in. One that we're considering right now, but anybody can submit one. Nothing is precluding that from happening. It's just by our statute, even if they submit one, we still have to put out a public notice that we're intending to sell. So we can't just skip it all together. It has to be part of it. But they can kickstart it like what's happening now.
One of the things I noticed in going through the plans is there was not much in the way of timelines. And is that by explicit decision? Is that just to be cautious? I mean, what does that mean?
Well, we kind of use the plan as it's our guidebook to give us the projects that come out of it. We listed the larger ones, but every year we have a work plan, and that work plan kind of guides and dictates what we're looking to do for that year. And we've been doing that for many, many years. So while the plan doesn't necessarily have specific, timelines and goals, we have every year we have our work plan. And the legislature actually added a second, I guess, annual report kind of for us to do, where we put together goals and objectives for ourselves, which we've been doing that for the last 2 years, and we're basing it on our work plan. So we're saying, hey, how far did we get on these particular projects that we're doing? We base that based on our budget. How much did we expend? And the more we spend, hey, the further along that we're getting.
Sure.
But our plan was really more of like the genesis. That's the starting point. Then we can make the projects that come from that. And we listed the larger ones in there. That'll take several years.
So is the work plan sort of the equivalent of the CIB, the budget, as opposed to the CIP, the plan? Would that be?
I guess so. I guess you could kind of say that. Yeah, our work, because like I said, we do it every year, and some of these projects carry over several years. So I guess that would be more of the detail, right? And as this process is pretty extensive and lengthy to go through the plan amendment process, because we have to go through it, amend it, we have to approve it, then it has to go to this board, then it has to go to the commission twice. So it's not something you can quickly do within a couple of months. It does takes at least 6 to 8 months to a year sometimes, or longer, to actually amend the plan. So that's why we didn't want to have those hard and fast deadlines, because it does take a while to amend the plan.
A little bit of cushion there.
Yeah, but we have them every year. Check our work plan. We do it. Trust me, I'm watching.
My last question, I think, is where to go? You said that you were thinking about floating a bond.
The city would do it. So yes.
Okay, well, that was where I was headed. So
Yes.
in terms of the city's bond rating, that would be impacted by that bond because it's not really the CRA, it's the city?
Well, not necessarily, because it's a TIF revenue bond, so it's coming from the future CRA revenues. It's not coming from the city. The city would have a better bonding rating, which would help the overall bonding process, and then we would pay the debt service.
Okay.
Right, so they're looking at us as they want to look at how much that we have available and what we have going on to be able to support the payments over the years. Obviously, again, the longer term, the better. So we got to, on the clock for that one, definitely to get that bond out, especially for the Northwest neighborhood, because that project is in progress.
So that bond is required, for example, of doing Pompey Park?
No, we're paying for that with cash. So
Okay.
we've been good savers over the last few years. So we have saved up the money, and we'll budget more money. I know the project was a little bit more than what the cost estimates were, because cost of construction has gone up, and time, right? A little bit more. So we'll budget that for next fiscal year. So that's been obviously the top priority. So luckily we've been, like I said, good savers over the years and been able to do that. The infrastructure that's coming up is substantially more. So that one we would look to for the city to take out the bond, and we would pay the debt service.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks. This is Ron.
Yeah, just a quick question for, maybe you can help me out here, Will. What was the thought process behind changing the sunset date from 2044 to 2039, only to have the governing board push it back up to 44 again?
No, so what happened is that the statute that was recently amended, I'm not as familiar with it as probably Ms. Retta-Jetsing is, but it only worked to limit and help eliminate CRAs. And so if I understand the situation correctly, the statute would require a CRA to sunset earlier than our CRA is allowed to, because the city commission has already extended them beyond the sunset date in the statute. So that was a decision made before the statute was amended. So all that's being pointed out is that the statute would normally have required this CRA to sunset by a certain date, but they'll be able to operate beyond that date in the statute because the city commission's already approved them
back to the
to
original
extend longer beyond that. Yeah.
They were trying to, I get, it was the time when they were trying to basically slow down and, yes, CRAs. So that was like the kind of the first step, saying, all right, well, guess what? All of them end by 2039, because maybe there's some municipalities or counties that wouldn't want to do that extension. So they're saying, hey, Tallahassee basically left it up to the locals to say, okay, well, if you want the CRA to continue, you all have to vote on it. So the intent was from 2039 to your sunset, maybe you'll have a commission that wants to keep you in existence. So we went ahead and when that bill came forward, we asked our board, who is wonderful, to bring our sunset date back to the 2044 date exactly.
I have a question on the same note. When I was on the commission, we talked about moving forward with the Osceola Park, Southwest, Northwest, and then after those got completed, we could potentially move up the sunset date, because at that point, CRA has done its job,
Right.
and we need some of that revenue to come to the city, especially now it's become harder and harder to use those funds. Is that an option still if we get the infrastructure completed in all three of those sections? Can it sunset earlier so that the city can see some of that revenue finally to pay for police, fire, all those other services that, that we're not going to have money to pay for if that bill passes?
Well, I would say with the timing of everything, we're probably going to need as much time as possible for those bonds, for the repayments. It's just going to depend on what those payments look like. Because I know already the Northwest Neighborhood Infrastructure is over $100 million. And then the Southwest will probably be more because it's a larger area. So when we
the work is completed, the bond can't be passed to the city so that the city could pay the bond, and then...
Maybe, I guess
Through
it would have
tax
something to
revenue?
be discussion, but it's setting up that the CRA is paying for that. So we would set it up as the 18 years, and that we would be responsible for that for the time. So that would keep us for the 18 years, unless we find some way to just pay it all back, or the city pays it back a lot earlier, but that would basically be the payment mechanism that we would need.
That's all I have.
Okay.
I just want to thank you, having put several plans together. They can be quite daunting, so you did a good job at redoing it. You may want to think about putting in a real for education friendly, if you're not already doing it. You take what's in the 200-page document and condense it to 10, 20, and then or put it on the website, and then I think that would be a real benefit for what the CRA does.
Thank you, yes. Thank you very much.
Roger?
Motion?
Yeah, I have no comment. Nice job.
Thank you very much.
Let's have a motion.
Well, just so Mr. Katz doesn't get all the fun.
I said, your turn.
I make a motion to recommend approval of the 2026 amendment to the Delray Beach Community Redevelopment Agency's Community Redevelopment Plan. Based upon a finding that the proposed changes are consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the adopted comprehensive plan in substantially the attached form by the city of Delray Beach.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Chart, second by Mr. Strawn. Ms. Miller, could you call the roll, please?
Jim Charn?
Yes.
Mitch Katz? Roger Cope?
Yes.
Karen Kieselewski?
Yes.
Deidre Strong?
Yes.
Bryce Patton's absent. Gregory Snyder?
Yes. Thanks, Renee.
Thank you very much.
Very
Have
much.
a good night.
Very nice, Renee.
Good night.
Okay. This LDR amendment.
Okay, good evening, members of the board. For the record, my name is Rebecca Dossery, and agenda item 8C here is an amendment to the land development regulations to adopt lobbyist disclosure and certification requirements. So this is essentially a result of commission direction at the July 14th meeting. Staff were directed to prepare a policy requiring the disclosure of any lobbying activities, and Madam Jelen drafted the amendment that is before you. So we're looking for a recommendation on this ordinance. So lobbying is not necessarily just those guys in suits that come around and present information to us on how they're trying to lobby the government on our behalf. Lobbyist is anyone who is attempting to influence a member of the commission or the board, and is paid or non-paid, but paid lobbyists are required to comply with the provisions of the Palm Beach County Administrator's Office. We are part of the registration system that the county has. So the rules for lobbying are already in place in Palm Beach County. We're just taking the step to formally adopt them into the city's own regulations. So the language that's going into our application submittal requirements requires that anyone who is intending to lobby, or if at any point in their application decides to secure the services of a lobbyist, they're required to register that and disclose it, so that any person that's appearing before the commission or a board has to disclose if they are appearing on behalf of the applicant. So our comprehensive plan has certain policies about transparency and decision making, and just making sure that local citizens are aware of what's happening and who's impacting decisions made by the decision makers. And so this is just in the spirit of that, to bring some transparency to the process. We have the options for board action, and I can answer any questions you may have.
Is this a public hearing too?
No.
Not a public hearing, I guess.
No, I would do public comment.
Yeah,
Just-
are there any public comments on this? Does anyone wish to come forward? Seeing no one, public comments closed. Board comments.
I have a question. So so when somebody's presenting, would they disclose verbally to the board that they are lobbying on behalf of their lobbyies?
I'm going to defer a little bit to Mr. Bennett here.
I don't know.
But I think, yes, that is the intention. Oh, yes. Okay. So prior to addressing the body, they have to verbally disclose on the record if they are lobbying on behalf of.
Okay. Because occasionally, not just during presentation, see a lot during commissioner comments, in particular at commission meetings, a lobbyist will come up and say something that's not necessarily on the agenda, but they are lobbying for a project. They would have to now disclose that I'm a lobbyist for XYZ, and now I'm going to spend my 3 minutes.
Well, and there is a distinction between being a lobbyist and just lobbying for
Right.
something. So,
Right, I mean, they have to, if
yeah.
they're just talking about something for their personal nature, but if they're being paid to be at that meeting by
Yeah.
a party, then they'll have to now disclose that at the meeting. I like that. I think that's a nice extra level of transparency. I think is good.
So,
But that's only if they're being paid to lobby.
Correct.
yeah, that's my question.
That's the simplest distinction, but our amendment would actually reference the Palm Beach County Code section and how they define a lobbyist. But yes, that's the simple.
But technically, you could be a lobbyist or lobbying without being paid by the
Well,
applicant.
that's where you'd be lobbying because that's what you would like to see, rather than being a paid agent of somebody and not knowing that that individual is advocating because they are receiving some type of benefit for that advocation.
I think any of us that stood up before the city commission or any board and said something in public comment is lobbying.
Right.
Essentially lobbying, but you're
Yeah,
not a
but you're
lobbyist.
not being
Not a
paid to
lobbyist.
do
You're not
it.
you're not getting paid to be there.
That's the distinction.
Yeah, I hope so.
Is that clear in the language, William?
I would say so, yes. Yes.
Not to me, but
So
That's why I'm asking the question.
that's probably on me. I don't know why I somehow left the definition of the lobbyist from the Palm Beach County Code of Ethics out of the staff. Oh, yes. So the Palm Beach County Lobbying Registration Ordinance defines lobbying as influencing or attempting to influence action or non-action. And then if you are paid to do that, then you are the lobbyist that's required to register and disclose.
yeah.
So money does have to be involved.
Yeah, they have
So-
to be.
It's not
I
really
don't,
clear.
the only thing I would potentially comment on that, it could be a quid pro quo. It could be an exchange of services. Not necessarily, I don't think the definition is so narrow as to it only to be a monetary payment of some kind.
So that's
But
a good.
it's still a benefit being provided to that individual to advocate on your behalf.
So I see a lot of times, sometimes you'll get a general contractor will come up saying, I really want you to approve that project because at the end of the day, they're not getting paid, but they're going to end up getting hired. They have an agreement or potentially get hired by that project. That would be lobbying and they're being compensated. It's a quid pro quo, right?
I don't know about, that specific instance might require us to research some, especially since candidly, this is something would be new for the city.
Right.
I'm sure Ms. Jones probably more familiar with it, having drafted this and researched it.
Well, I think
But-
if it's quid pro quo in there, then that would be covered. 'Cause that would be a quid.
Well, the only hesitation I have with your hypothetical is the potential to be selected as the contractor.
Or if they're already been.
If they
awarded.
had an agreement in place
Right.
that said, if my project is approved, I'll hire you for this amount, and it's an
Right.
agreement, it's binding, yes, that person showing up, that could be potentially a lobbyist because they've been receiving a financial
There's a
benefit
quid pro quo there.
through that type of situation. So that's a potential issue.
I think it's important because that is somebody is essentially going to be compensated. They should disclose it at least. You know, they're not just Mr. Good Samaritan. They're
Yeah.
I had some questions about the disclosure too, in terms of what happens. I mean, you say if they come to before someone and do it, but this also affects employees in that meeting with staff. So there's some forms around there somewhere, and I'm just curious what happens to them. You know, how do people know they need to fill them out, and then how do they, you know, are they just part of the file? Do they get sent to the decision-making body? I mean, you know.
So they would be part of the development application file. So like when we read the record into the record at the beginning, it would live in that file, and then that person would also be required to say when they come to speak or go to speak. So I don't. There's not. I'm trying to think of if someone could obviously not disclose that they were paid, but then they would be in violation of the ordinance and the requirements. So I think there is some onus on the members involved to be transparent and truthful. But that is the requirement that when you submit the application, you provide that lobbyist certification, and then if you add one later, you have to provide it then as well.
I would think, I think too, that I would ask the Development Services Department too. So a lot of times there's not applications in, but somebody thinking about buying a property or lobbying on a property might just want a meeting with Development Services to find out. I think at that point, that even though there's no application, the Development Services say, if you're lobbying on behalf of an investor, please just fill this out for transparency.
Yeah, so typically we afford a lot of leeway on that. It's at the point where it's coming to the decision makers that if you're having someone come up on your behalf, that's when they have to disclose it. So we do have a lot of leeway on it within the pre-application process because people throw spaghetti at the wall all the time, but it's when you actually come in front of you all or the commission that we want that disclosed.
Why not be part of the record from the very beginning?
The proposed language in the amendment requires these disclosures during the application process.
So that would be that initial
Well,
meeting.
I think Development Services tends to call those types of meeting a pre-application meeting. So there could be some discussion internally whether we should consider a pre-application meeting as the application process, or if it's something that once you have an actual formal application in, is that what triggers the application process? So it's a good question. It'd probably be something we would look at administratively to determine when that would be triggered. I don't know how often Development Services has pre-application meetings, but if it's numerous, that could become cumbersome. And if you've got different owners and different projects with the same owner, it could be.
But I think also too, it'd be good if there was a record of that. We would see how much certain lobbyists are taking up a lot of city time too as well, employee time that's not necessarily the city's being compensated for, because there's no development application, there's no fees being collected, your time's being taken. If there's a XYZ lobbyist that is meeting constantly with staff and it's not accounted for anywhere, right? And I think that form would help do that.
Yeah, I would say that, well, we do have records of who requests the pre-application meetings, but the scenarios in which we have people coming just to lobby on behalf of their friends' projects without them being paid for it. So it's always an agent or the property owner themselves or a combination of it. So, but like Mr. Bennett said, we can discuss whether that would be a way to capture people early in the process.
That's all I have. But thank you for bringing this up.
Do you have something else? Just to go out of my final meeting on the note that you expect from me on your page, I don't know what page it is, but there's two G's there's two section G's.
Okay, cool.
Because the F is changed to G, but the G is not changed to
It needs to
H
be H, yeah. You need
on
a
the
G
last
and an H.
page.
Okay,
Yeah, page 4 should be H, notice requirements.
okay, we'll get that, thank you.
Good catch.
I knew
Great
you'd
catch.
expect- I knew you'd expect that from me.
That is absolutely a great
Can we have the
I'll make a motion.
appropriate
I don't have
motion,
the
please?
motion in front of me.
I think Dietrich.
Do you have it? Yeah, I think Diedrich should.
Yeah.
Let the attorney make this motion.
That's what I'm thinking.
As amended, though, to change the H.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to lose your amendment there.
Okay. So where B, recommend approval as amended by the City Commission of Ordinance Number 3926, a city-initiated request to amend and update Section 2.4.2, application requirements of the Land Development Regulations to establish lobbyist disclosure and certification requirements for development applications, by finding that the amendment as amended and approval thereof is consistent with the comprehensive plan and meets the criteria set forth in land development regulations.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Strawn, second by Mr. Copeland. Ms. Miller, would you call a roll, please?
Jim Chard,
Yes.
Mitch Katz,
Yes.
Roger Cope,
Yes.
Karen Kieselewski,
Yes.
Dietrich Strawn,
Yes.
Price Patton is absent, Gregory Snyder.
Yes. Okay,
Roger, though, is our official seconder.
excellent. All right. At this point, we're moving on to item 9A, and 9A is quasi-judicial, so I'll read the rules. This hearing shall be conducted in accordance with the City of Delray Beach quasi-judicial rules. The applicant and the city shall be permitted to present their case. The public shall be allowed to speak for 3 minutes each, or a maximum of 6 minutes if the person represents an organization or group of people who are present but agree not to speak. The board members and staff and the applicant may be allowed to cross-examine a witness, and the city or the applicant will be allowed to offer rebuttal testimony. The decision to approve or deny an application or appeal may not legally be made upon personal views as to whether the project is a good project or not, nor may a decision be based on the numbers of citizens who support or oppose a particular project. The law requires that all decisions must be made on the basis of whether the project meets the requirements of law, the comprehensive plan, and the land development regulations. Could you enter the
Yes. So state
File,
for the
please.
record, my name is Susanna Rodriguez, Senior Planner. I would like to enter file number PZ359-2026 and PZ-360-2026 into the record. This is for a recommendation to City Commission for a level 4 and a conditional use, and the applicant is here today to present.
Thank you. Ex parte.
I spoke with Mr. Costello.
Mr. K. Chard.
I drove to the car wash and I talked to Mr. Costello.
I had talked to Mr. Costello. I visited the site and I went to the Lenny's Car Wash at Atlantic and jogging. I got my car washed.
Wow. Holy cow.
I'm sure they appreciate
None.
that.
Did you put that on your expenses?
Yeah, I did.
No ex parte.
I spoke to Mr. Costello and also drove by.
None. I don't wash my car,
Okay. Will you wash mine?
ever.
Thank you. Mr. Costello.
Good evening, Chair, board members. Jeff Costello, JC Planning Solutions, 33460, representing the applicant. And with me, we have some members of our team this evening, if you have any questions. So what we have before you is the conditional use and site plan for redevelopment of the existing car wash on North Federal Highway. It's about a half an acre. It's a self-service car wash facility. There is one automated bay, which is not enclosed for the most part. Little office area plus self-service vacuum areas. It's zone GC, underlying land use is GC. It's within the North Federal Highway overlay district within the North Federal Highway redevelopment area. Adjacent zonings, of course, to the north and south are GC. There's an auto zone to the south, Aubrey Auto Sales to the north, and an office building, and then to the east is the Volvo dealership. West Old Dixie Highway and the FEC are a few single-family homes, and then the soccer complex and Plumosa. These are just some photos of the site. It's been in existence since 2007. Staff's report has a lot of detail with regard to the history of the site. The existing car wash was relocated from the Pineapple Grove district many years ago. So what we have is a proposal to redevelop this site, repurpose this with approximately 3,300 square foot single tunnel automated car wash facility. State of the art with central vacuum system within the building, within this particular area here. Here's the tunnel, and then within these walls is the central vacuum system. There are vacuum stations at each parking space. There's 16. Associated on-site parking, of course, is 16. Of course, dumpster, landscaping, 5 on-street parking spaces along 22nd Street. Also right-of-way dedications at the southeast and southwest corner, and then elimination of this curb cut along Dixie Highway. So what we have is your point of access is off of Dixie, one way. There was a request to reduce the stacking distance from 100 feet to 88. There's 2 lanes of 88 feet. The members, there's a lane for them, and then there are regular customers coming forward. There's another lane. The ability to bypass here, and this also serves for waste management. We work closely with them on this design. So they would come in this way, and then they'd egress to the site from here. Then there's also, oh, I froze up. There we go. Ooh, get back over there. Anyway, okay, so then there's that alternate. Oh, there it goes. There we go. And then if somebody decides they just don't want to after they go to the gate, then they can circulate out. So anyway, it's a one-way circulation system, perpendicular, and then one point of egress. This is a little bit wider just due to the fact that you have the waste management vehicles egressing in that location. There you see the existing site plan, and then we have the proposed site plan. Required findings with regard to the conditional use, there's consistency and site plan. Consistency with the land use map. GC is preferred zoning district with the GC land use designation. The GC allows wash establishments for facilities for facilities for vehicles as a conditional use. The floor area ratio is 0.16, allowed is max is 3. Then the staff report, it confirms there's positive findings can be made with respect to to the adopted level of service standards regarding concurrency, water and sewer, drainage, traffic, etc. And there's in the staff report consistency outlined with regard to the comp plan, specifically neighborhoods, districts, and corridors element, and the economic prosperity element, as well as the North Federal Highway redevelopment plan. On the screen, some of those applicable policies that apply to this development proposal. I'm not going to go through each one. It's excellent staff report and backup that was provided. Compliance with the LDRs. Conditional use findings 246A5. Positive findings can be made With regard to Chapter 3, as well as the findings of establishment for the conditional use, that it will not have a significantly detrimental effect on the stability of the neighborhood within which it will be located or hinder development or redevelopment in nearby properties. I went through previously the adjacent zoning and uses. The redevelopment is to replace the existing antiquated self-service facility constructed in 2007 with a new state-of-the-art facility. We did submit a noise study that indicates compliance with the city's recently adopted noise ordinance, Chapter 99. There is, as I stated, a central vacuum is located internal to the building with insulation. And then there's individual vacuum stations, those booms that you see at these facilities. There's extensive landscaping along the perimeter, safe traffic circulation, a significant enhancement to the property and the redevelopment area. On your screen, just a note with regard to the study that was prepared. On the top part is a central vacuum system, and then the actual facility with regard to the automated tunnel. So there's the top two relate to the maximum. I'm not an expert. We do have an expert here to talk about the DBA versus the DBC, but they do not exceed the maximum provided for in the Code of Ordinances as it relates to this type of use. As a result of once we received the staff report, there was some question with regard to the vacuum stations at individual spaces. So we did have an additional analysis prepared. My apologies for not sending the staff the report. We'll ensure they receive that before City Commission with a positive recommendation, we hope. And so this particular, on the bottom part, indicates that those will not exceed the DBA as well. And so it's all in compliance with the noise ordinance, and there are no adjacent residential areas abutting, and so positive findings can be made in that regard. With regard to required findings on the site plan, the applicable standards for site plan action, positive findings can be made. We listed those on the screen. There's more detailed analysis in the staff report. The development proposal meets the applicable standards. There are no identified areas of concern from the overall site configuration or proposed use on the surrounding area. Compliance with the LDRs, complies with the applicable standards indicated on the screen. It does allow as a conditional use outside storage, which really ties in with the vacuums. And so we've provided the evidence that those will comply with the noise ordinance and will be aesthetically appealing. With regard to the waiver analysis, we did request one, and because per the LDR's 469D6D, when you have a 24-foot drive aisle, that you have to have two-way traffic flow. This whole business operation, it's a controlled situation where you want the customers coming in off of Dixie, go through the tunnel, egress on the southeast corner, and then you go into the parking spaces, and from that point you exit the site. So we respectfully request in this case the one-way traffic flow to this. We feel that positive findings can be made with 2411B5 that would not adversely affect the neighboring area, significantly diminish the provision of public facilities, of course not, shall not create an unsafe situation. This was really a controlled environment to make it a safe situation, and does not result in a grant of special privilege, and that the same waiver would be granted under similar circumstances on another property or for another applicant. We feel it could be in a similar situation. There's not a safety concern, controls traffic flow for customers and business operation, does not affect the neighboring area. There are do not enter signs. Signage will be provided throughout the site, proper pavement markings indicating the proper flow, do not enter signs off of 22nd. The business model requires the need to provide those stations. The ideal would have been 21. It's a tight site, so we're going with the 16. Typically, if you wanted to, you could have a diagonal. We would have eliminated one or two more additional space. We feel as many parking spaces we can get and accommodate the customers, the better. And with regard to the landscaping, 2410A3C, positive findings can be made. We are preserving some of the trees along 22nd the best we can. We have our landscape architect here to, if there's any questions related to that. But the site along the perimeter extensively landscaped, and will be a significant enhancement to the North Federal Highway corridor. And then with regard to the architectural elevation findings, the proposed Mediterranean Revival architectural style building, with that, positive findings can be made for the criteria for board action with regard to 4618E1 through 3. Again, it's a very significant enhancement to the North Federal Highway corridor, repurposing and redeveloping this. It's the same use but in a different format. It's an automated car wash facility, and we respectfully request your approval of this condition, or recommendation of approval of the conditional use and site plan. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you.
It's a new time record, Jeff.
You're good.
Alrighty, so the request is for a level 4 site plan with a conditional use and waivers to allow a car wash in the GC zoning district. One waiver has been administratively approved by the city engineer, and further detail of the waivers will be provided later on the slides. So the GC property is adjacent to other GC properties to the north and south, and then automotive commercial to the east, and single family and community facilities to the west. The lot is currently occupied by a self-service car wash and is within the North Federal Highway Redevelopment and Overlay District. So, brief history, the site was annexed into the city in 1999 with a repair and truck rental shop. And then in 2003, the site was approved with the conditional use to have a car wash, and in 2005, the associated site plan was approved. As this is a complete demo, that is why the conditional use is now being requested again. The adjacent north property is commercial, but just north of that is Tropics of Delray, which is a 34-unit multifamily development. To the east is the Gunther Volkswagen dealership. To the south is an auto parts store. And to the west, past Old Dixie and the railway, is a single-family residence and a school complex. So these are some of the views of those adjacent uses on the south, north, and west, and east. So the site plan request is specific to an automatic car wash totaling in 3,310 square feet. There are 16 parking spaces on site, each equipped with a vacuum, and 5 on-street spaces for a total of 21 parking spaces. And the car wash operation hours are proposed to be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The conditional use request is to approve a car wash service, including the outdoor component of the vacuum stations, within the GC zoning district, and it is subject to the conditional use findings. The requested waivers are as follows: relief to allow one-way traffic flow where two-way is required adjacent to those perpendicular parking spaces, and relief to allow 88-foot stacking distance where 100 feet is typically required. The stacking was administratively approved by the city engineer. So the required findings are as follows. So car washes are allowed in GC as a conditional use, and for concurrency review, the water and sewer services are proposed on site, and there is a sand oil interceptor, which is a tank that captures and separates the pollutants from the wastewater. Drainage is accommodated on site. The trip generation is 678 daily trips, and the project is anticipated to generate 15.23 tons of solid waste. The comprehensive plan allows for a wide range of non-residential development in GC zoning. It's a use that will meet the daily needs of residences and comply with the provisions set forth in the redevelopment plan. The comprehensive plan also promotes good job creation and increase in essential retail and consumer services. So the following are performance standards the board should consider. So the intensity. This use is typically deemed noisy and not appropriate to be adjacent to residential uses. Mitigations that are proposed include the following. There's a separation by the FEC Railway and Old Dixie. There's some landscape buffers. There's a daytime operation, or the operation is only limited to daytime hours. And most of the equipment proposed is in an enclosed building, not including the outdoor vacuums. A noise study was provided and further analysis is shown on the next slide. And finally, the one-way circulation, which will be discussed further with the waiver. So the city's noise standard for commercial use at the property line is 65 dBA or 70 dBc during active hours. So the provided noise analysis indicates that sound levels below the thresholds. However, the report does not clearly confirm about the outdoor component, if that was included in the model. As Jeff has said, there is a study that they've created after the staff report, and that will be required to be provided to staff prior to City Commission so we can review and make sure that it is complying with our noise ordinance. So the board should consider if the submitted information together with the hours of operation, building enclosure, setbacks, landscape buffers is sufficient to support the required compatibility findings, or if additional noise analysis or mitigation is necessary. So the proposal complies with the regulations set forth in LDR section 449 and 434. Then the proposal also complies with the supplemental regulations, including lighting, parking, bicycle parking. The provision for outdoor uses is considered with the conditional use and that findings. The project complies with the landscape regulations set forth in LDR section 4616. The proposal includes the removal of 12 trees and 12 palms, 5 trees to remain, 25 new trees, and 13 new palms. So the following are your criteria for the architects. It must be in conformity with good taste and design. It won't materially depreciate the area and is harmonious with the general area. So characteristics of the proposal include a neutral color palette. There's varied materials such as stucco and stone and a gray pitched tile roof. Overall, the proposed architectural style is generally compatible. However, it is noticed that the north facade facing the adjacent commercial property lacks that same quality of design proposed on some of the other facades and is kind of treated as the rear of the building with minimal design, although adjacent to another property. So that is something to consider too. The first waiver is to LDR section 469D6D. The proposal includes perpendicular parking spaces which requires a 24-foot drive aisle and two-way traffic flow. This is all for back-out maneuvering. The proposal meets the 24-foot drive aisle width, but reduces the traffic flow for one-way. The overall site is designed for a one-way circulation entering from Dixie and exiting onto Northeast 2nd lane, or 22nd lane. Employees and service vehicles will have to enter from Dixie and utilize that pass-through prior to the car wash gate, and then proceed to the exit on Northeast 22nd lane or utilize for the employees those 3 parking spaces. Two-way circulation may be feasible if sufficient maneuvering area is provided, and the two-way circulation would offer alternative entrance from Northeast 22nd lane. So the board should consider the following. Will one-way traffic flow adversely affect internal circulation or safety? And is the two-way traffic flow a safer option? Or is the proposed operational maneuvering route functional for the site? So the second waiver is to reduce the stacking distance from 100 feet to 88 feet. This request was already administratively approved by the city engineer. It's just here as a reference. The conditional use findings are as follows. The use will not have a significantly detrimental effect on the neighborhood, nor will it hinder development of the nearby properties. The board should consider the following. Are the noise mitigations sufficient to reduce potential noise impacts, or is additional mitigation warranted? And is the proposed use intensity compatible with the area, meet community needs, and advance the overall vision, policy, and objectives for the city? These are your motions, and that concludes my presentation.
Great, thank you. At this time, a public comment. If there's any members of the public that wish to come up and speak on this application, now's your chance. And seeing no one, then public comment's closed. Does applicant or staff have any rebuttal, or I don't guess they have any cross-examination, any rebuttal?
Not really, no. Just a couple statements, if I may. So, with regard to the north elevation, there was, I don't know if we can go to that slide, but so along there, it's heavily landscaped. However, if desired on that tower, well, you must have read my mind. So if there was some additional stucco elements or features that would be desired at that location, then we could add it to, since that's the closest to to Federal Highway. When you get to the midpoint by the window, it's basically adjacent to that office building that really fronts Dixie, and you really won't see it. But there'll be landscaping along that north elevation. And then also, again, while we could accommodate the desire is, as the owner, we want people to go to the car wash, not to come and clean their vehicles and then leave, vacuum. So that's the business operation, is to come in, get your vehicle clean, and then that vacuum is an accessory use, sort of a service that's provided, and then they exit the site. So that's all I just wanted to clarify on that.
Thank you. Sana, anything?
No rebuttal from staff.
Okay. That puts us to board comments. Mr. Coe.
Well, thank you. Was this the original Witherspoon
Yes.
site? Yeah, wasn't it? Right? Fantastic. Didn't we just name an avenue after the Witherspoon?
Mm-hmm.
Very appropriate. Architecturally, I mean, I'm glad that they ended on that offering. I would suggest we ask them to take the tower and add some fenestration, or I guess real fenestration, on the north face of the tower that's along Federal Highway, Jeff. And I think that would probably suffice, almost, in that upper rendering right there where you get the lower storefront with the transom above it. If you added that sort of element to the north facade of the tower along Federal, I think then the landscaping from that point back would be sufficient. And I hope staff follows that. I think I can't see why they would object to that. That's where the car turns out and goes down the one-way drive aisle. Otherwise, it's been a car wash for 1,000 years. It's a beautiful little site. People use it all the time. It serves the public. I don't think the noise ordinances or the noise issue is a big deal. The housing development to the north of it hasn't even been developed yet, so that may never happen in our lifetime. I would support the one-way traffic, versus the two-way. I think it's a beautiful site. It's just, I'll take one shot at the architect. I wish it were a lot more innovative architecturally, but they've chosen a very safe design
Why am I not
approach.
surprised?
It's the first time we've not heard this is the best architecture I've ever seen.
This isn't going to set the architectural world on fire. But you'll come out of there with a very clean car. So I don't see anything objectionable.
Kieslowski.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I do like the idea of something on the north side, only because the building to the north could eventually go away, and so there would be something needed there. And especially like the addition of the sidewalk. You didn't mention it, but I'm always about pedestrian and bike mobility, so adding that will be helpful. And I do believe the one-way approach is safer and more appropriate.
Sure, and I agree with the other two. You're going to keep it That's what it is. You're just really changing how it operates from the 5 bays to the one tunnel. So I don't see where any of these conditions really come into play because it's going to stay what it already is. I agree with the one-way. Most of the I'm like Roger. I wash my car maybe once a year, but the ones that I've gone to have been one way. You know, you come in, you wash, you vacuum, and then you go out. So it's consistent with all the other car washes that I've been to. You know, in the 2 or 3 years that I started to wash my car once a year. So yeah, I'm fine with it. I don't have a problem with it.
Right, thanks. Mr. Chard.
I do have a couple questions. 678 trips, is that the number you said per day?
Yes, that's the calculation on the traffic study. Yes.
Just seems like a high number, but
Well,
and the stacking distance will handle that.
yes. Yeah, and then keep in mind too that the concept is you're a membership situation. So whenever you're driving in, the idea is not everybody's playing with the. Then you could go online. There's an app, and you're basically become a member, and it just there's a detector automatically lets you in as a member, rather than you're going in and punching in and paying like that. So that's why that one lane is all for members. Although they could use the other lane as well if it's free, you know, they go ahead. But then you do have, you know, you're going to have occasional customers that come in that don't have that aren't members. And if you notice that some of these, they basically, that's what they're there. When you're driving up, it's like, let's be a member. And so, you know, with their offering. So no, and it's really, if you think about it, daily trip, you spread that out across it. And then the peak hour, I wish I had that traffic. The peak hour trips are not anything abnormal. And this is over a 12-hour period. So
The only slope is people like us with a Tesla trying to figure out how to put it in neutral. So what do I do?
And I'm here to answer questions if you guys have any. I'll agree with the Tesla though. Yes, sir.
It's a pain.
Sworn in, right?
Yes, I've been sworn in. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's embarrassing when you go in your Tesla and they say, put it in neutral.
The first time's always the hardest. After that, we'd love to have you.
I don't know if there's any questions on as far as that. What I just stated, then he's.
I want to talk about concurrency a little bit.
Sure. Okay.
Is there more water consumption with the automated car wash than if you go in with the wand?
Yeah. So if you can imagine the technology that I'm bringing in that site from a self-service car wash where the customers are interacting and taking their time and using the technology that was back then to now, there's actually less water that's going to be used to watch a single car in the new facility compared to the old or the current.
Okay, that answers that question.
Can you state your name for me?
Lenny or Leonard Prosciutto Jr.
Last name?
I'm going to spell it P as in Peter, I-S-C-I-O-T-T-O.
Thank you.
It's CARWASH.
Yeah.
I also agree with the one-way pattern, but what if somebody wanted to just go in and vacuum their car and they didn't want to get washed?
Yeah. So in the model, that would be, prohibited. The flow traffic through the car wash is, yes, member-based, but for those retail customers, ones that have been there for the first time, you're going to transact at the stacking area right before you go in the tunnel, and each wash package, every time you come to the site, is going to include the wash through the tunnel, the exterior of the vehicle, and then that's also inclusive of you stopping before you leave at the vacuum station to do the interior of your vehicle.
So a member can't just go vacuum if they want?
A member could bypass the tunnel and a couple of the bypass that Jeff showed earlier and go to the vacuum station, but as a car wash owner, that is extremely rare that you come.
Just curiosity.
Yeah.
We do have 3 spaces that can be accessed without having to go through the car wash.
Oh, okay. We kept talking about the north side facing Federal. It's actually the east side, isn't it?
No, it's
Well,
the north side.
If we go back to
Talking about the
the
north
aerial,
side, that's-
maybe.
So that's what I'd see driving on Federal.
No,
So if we look at the site, there we go.
no.
So the site plan, if you look at here,
I don't think so either.
here we go. So the east,
that doesn't fit.
here's
That's not
Federal
what it is.
Highways. You're southbound on Federal. You're going to see the north side of the building. As you're
No.
here, as you're going 40 mile an hour, you're going to go right by it. But this here is basically is adjacent to Aubrey Auto. This is really where the tower would be. And then as you're seeing it, so it provides more of a decorative element. And then you have extensive landscaping along that edge.
So are you saying you don't see the east elevation because you're going 40
You
miles
do,
an hour?
but from that perspective, the coming from southbound Federal, that's the part of the building you'll see as you're driving. You're probably not going to be looking to your right to look at the front of the building, but that's where it really
But if you're a
provides that added
pedestrian
visual
with the
element.
sidewalk,
Pardon me?
if you're a pedestrian
Yeah,
with
they
the
may
sidewalk-
not go through the facility, but there'll be landscaping on the east side.
Okay.
And that, if we could look at the east elevation real quick.
Yeah, that's really what I was. Let me see.
See, this way you want.
Yeah, so if you went, there it is.
That's the east.
So it has
That faces
windows.
Federal.
Yeah, so
Okay,
it makes-
okay.
It has the appearance of the front of
The
a.
north faces up to the auto parts place.
Got it.
So make
All
the
right.
north side look like the east side.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
So stop the storefront from not going all the way down, I guess, like you have on the east.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, couple feet up, whatever.
Yes.
Okay.
Aubrey
So-
Autos is probably not gonna be there forever.
Well, that's the whole point.
Right.
To me.
So, just in order not to disappoint Mr. Katz,
Here comes the landscape question.
Get ready.
I did have some plant questions.
Uh-oh.
It's always interesting trying to get these diagrams out and trying to see them on the computer. As I read the mitigation box here, it says that the total inches of removed trees is 30 inches. Is that 30 inches in diameter?
DBH, yes. Diameter
That's the
of the
total
trunk.
of all of those, what, 19 trees or so?
Yes.
They're not all.
Well, if
They're not that big.
well, the reason I'm asking is there are 25 new trees going in, measuring 37 and a half inches, and by my calculations, that's a little bit over 1 inch per tree.
Yep, so in the proposed specs, we have the 2.5 inch standard, minimum standard specification of the trunk, times 25. So, but it would be times 15 because that's the inch per inch mitigation. There's 10 trees that are on a 1-to-1 mitigation. So 15 times 2.5 is 37.5.
Well, I'm just thinking of an individual tree. That's a small tree.
2.5 inch.
Yeah.
Yep, the minimum standard for proposed trees coming in is 16-foot height, 7-foot spread, 2.5 inch cal with 8-foot CT for the
Yeah, I
commercial
saw
property.
that. Yeah. Probably need to talk to the city about that.
If you, can you, maybe, is there, so along 22nd is where the more mature, I think more mahogany are. So if you look on the other portions of the site, you know, there are some palms on it. And so with regard to the mitigation, what we've chosen to do is try to preserve those along that major street, which, well, along
On 22nd.
22nd. And then with the redevelopment, because we couldn't preserve, because we're totally excavating all the existing concrete, removing all that existing catch basin that's been there for over 20 years. And so there's, to try to preserve anything on that north side where there's a wall, you just can't do it.
Yeah.
And so however, we saw the opportunity on the south side to provide that, to preserve what we could along 22nd. And so that's then the blue.
So those mahogany trees stay?
Those are to remain, yes.
Okay. I always ask the question of why so few natives, and I'm specifically, in this case, speaking of ground cover. You have 640 liriope and I think 108 Boston fern, and then snake plant, which is one of the ugliest plants I've ever seen.
Oh, geez. Jeez.
So for the requirements for the site, we have 50% native trees. We're providing 100% native trees.
Yes,
We
I
have
saw
a
that.
minimum of 25% native shrubs. We're providing 80% native shrubs. The locations of the ground cover are mainly where there are site visibility triangle maximums of height, and so we're trying to keep, meet that requirement. The 6 singular snake plants are in the 1 foot space of the building frontage, so that allows, minimal root encroachment in the building
But they will spread.
foundation. They will not spread between the curb and the building foundation, because they would be in a very
Just a lateral.
very short planter, but provide some softening of the building wall as required for foundation planting. Otherwise we are fully native in our shrubs. With
No,
the
I noted that.
hedge.
I was thinking more of the ground cover.
Ground cover.
You really only have the Boston fern, and the rest is non-native.
Yeah, again, in those visibility triangles, we wanted to keep it very neat and not have a sprawling native that could get a bit hard to maintain.
Okay.
I failed to compliment the landscape plan. I thought it was fabulous. I think you should put more of those ugly plants in there. Whichever one that
I'll
works.
give you some, Roger. I'm always trying to root them out.
Well, no, they're beautiful.
All right.
I have a couple questions. I also did want to compliment you on so much of the native replacement. I think that's important. I think that's something that the city does not require, that we've asked them to require, that you're doing on your own. So thank you for that. My question is, first of all, the vacuum stalls are all self-service. It's not like your other store. This is more of a
Thank you.
the other type of store. There's no canopies or covers, or where people are going to be self-service in 950 degrees temperature?
Yeah, right now there's nothing proposed.
I think that's your prerogative, but I think you're going to need something there, because it's
It's a discussion.
Yeah, I would, and the other similar type of car washes that are popping up all seem to have. We had a proposal in front of us that he loved the architecture of, but we turned it down. But it had some type of shade, because I think you're going to have to come back to that.
over the.
Yeah, over the vacuums, because people are going to be
Sure did.
getting
Yeah,
out
hot.
and vacuuming. It is hot. You're going to need some shade there eventually. So to me, you're do it right at the beginning, but it's not in your plan, so it's not there. My question is on the. I know we talked about facades. Can I see the west facade again? To me, that's an important facade, because that's the only area facing any residential. So it's hard to really tell, but it's pretty.
So what you see is of course, this is
I know they're going in, that's the entrance, but
Right
that
here.
tower is what I'm talking about. Is that, can that be,
That has a glass, that's the office.
that's the office there, and then above that is just white?
Right, it's stucco with score lines, yeah. So, yeah, but it's to continue that tower element. I guess the seated windows go up to this point here.
So they're pretty high, okay.
They're up there, yeah, in line with that band.
'Cause I think that's even more important than the east elevation than Federal Highway, because it's hard to tell.
Faces the railroad tracks.
It's facing the railroad tracks, but the other side of tracks is the only residential that it's close to.
Yeah, which you can't even see the house from the car wash.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't drive there, but I looked
I
on the
did.
map.
I walked around, and it's
Okay.
behind a bunch of trees. It
Okay.
took me a long
All right.
time to realize there was really a house back there.
Gotcha. Okay. And that was my other point. Is I think I have no concerns with the noise because I believe there's not any residential. I mean, that was our biggest problem with the last project was they were building it right next to it, and I think with the enclosure too, with the vacuums, that really helps as well. I do have a question about consistency. You talked about the water. Do you recycle the water at all? I know you said you clean it. I know that I actually just happened to see a video. I guess all these car washes are popping up in Las Vegas where water is. I mean, it's a resource here, but even more there, where they're completely reusing the water. And are you doing is there some
Correct.
internal
And the
system?
technology is advancing every year. It gets better and better. So you're going to see, all the reclaim system technology.
Yeah, reclaim water. They're reclaiming the water. And are
All
you
that's
doing
gonna
that?
be
Or?
here. Yep, all that's going to be here in the new site. Absolutely.
That's great. I think that's important because there is ultimately we are going to be in a water crisis here eventually as well. Otherwise, I think, like I said, it's great. I wish you guys would look at the corner of Military and Atlantic for something like this closer to me. But until then, we'll have something at
well.
least.
Not in that little piece up there.
No, Military and Atlantic, the big
I know.
empty spot.
There's one little spot there.
Huh?
There is one little spot.
There's a car wash?
No,
Or-
there's an open piece right there, but I don't.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, some where
Yeah.
there was supposed to be one. They talked about where the bazaar was that's closed now and all that property. Who knows what's going on?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Anyway, that's a great commercial area for it.
I think everybody's pretty much covered everything, but I like to talk sometimes.
This is it.
This is your last
This is
chance.
your last
I know,
chance.
this is my last chance. Yeah. The reason I went and got my car washed out at Atlantic and Jog is just to see what the noise is like and what the operation's like. And the noise is from the blowers that dry the cars. The noise was not from the vacuums. And the vacuum itself is inside the building. So apparently there's some noise that comes with the hose when you activate it. But I honestly didn't hear anything.
Correct. Yeah, and I think that's something that everybody needs to be conscious of when you're looking at a car wash. But this particular wash here, there's 3 cents of noise. You have the blowers that dry the car,
Right.
which we meet the
That's your
standard,
biggest
right?
noise, yeah.
And we did that creatively through my team to
Yes.
make sure. And then the other 2 sources are what we call the central vac system. That is something that will produce the suction that each customer will use at the parking spots.
Right.
That is encompassed inside the building with insulation to muffle that actual sound. And then lastly is the noise that individual vacuum stations, or we will refer to as vacuum booms,
Right.
will make. And those are really not even a concern. I always kind of give the analogy, if you take your shop vac at home and you put your hand on the actual shop vac, it's silent, right? So that's most of the time if it's not being used, it's hung in the hanger. And then when you take it out to vacuum your car, yes, it's going to make a bit of noise, but nothing more than
Yeah.
that vacuum that you're using to suck up water at your house.
That's the impression I got.
That one at Jog
what you
doesn't have
said.
the self-service out. That's a full service, right? Is that a different model?
Yeah, but again, same equipment. We're just using it with our employees, opposed to here, the customers are interacting with that same equipment.
Turn that to self-service. I might
Yeah,
go buy
and
that.
and all that, it shows it here. The blowers are in the end of the tunnel before the right turn.
Correct.
Yeah, so
Right.
that noise has got to go around the corner to get out, and I think that's
Right, and so that's why we
pretty
designed
reasonable.
it.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
it's
We
like
went through that
it's excellent
extensively.
design for that purpose. I'm on board with add something to the north facade there on the tower. I think that's a great idea. And as far as the one-way traffic, I don't.
That was Mr. Cope's idea.
Yeah, well, he's our resident architect. I don't understand why two-way traffic is safer. Doesn't make sense to me. I think one-way
No, I
traffic
think
is
that-
safer.
Yeah, that one way is so much safer, especially with the exit.
And then
things.
so why we have
Imagine-
some, I think that that's in the LDRs to deal with on-street parking more than something that's on an internal drive aisle. It doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't make sense to have diagonal parking in a car wash. So good job.
Thank you.
Let's get a motion and maybe we can move on.
Recommend approval of a level 4 site plan application with architectural elevations and landscape plan, including a conditional use to allow a 3,310 square foot automatic car wash at 22 Dan North Federal Highway and a waiver for one-way traffic flow adjacent to perpendicular parking spaces by finding that the request thereof approval is consistent with the comprehensive plan and meets the criteria set forth with conditions of changes to the north facade and set forth in LDR section 2.4.6A5 and the land development regulations.
Second.
Oh, shit.
Okay.
With the second, you had got to make mention of the addition of the facade.
I said the north facade is part of the conditions, yeah.
Yeah. Any other discussion on the motion? We have a motion by Mr. Katz, second by somebody.
Mr. Chard.
Mr. Chard. And Ms. Miller, would you please call a roll?
Jim Chard.
Yes.
Mitch Katz.
Yes.
Roger Cope.
Yes.
Karen Gieseleski.
Yes.
Dick Strong.
Yes.
Price Patton is absent. Gregory Snyder.
Yes. That
Thank you
passed
very much.
unanimously. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks to staff.
Very nice.
Be up there. Thanks, everybody.
I would advise maybe a little
presentation.
instruction manual for us Tesla owners. Say, here's what you need to do.
There's a car wash mode. Get on the street.
I know, but then putting it in the neutral part, it's still like, I don't know.
Oh, it's-
Anytime I've gone, I
Thanks
freak
for
out.
that.
Thank you.
Just don't wash your car. You're okay.
Oh, yeah. Like, what is it?
Staff comments.
Okay, our next board meeting is on the fourth Monday instead of the third, so mark your calendars. It'll be September 28th, and then the meeting after that is October 19th. And then as well, today is the last meeting for Mr. Snyder. He has termed out from board service, so we're just very grateful to have had you on the board and the thought you put into all the decisions. So we have a certificate for you.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, $1,000 check.
Wow. All right.
Could you give those dates again? I wasn't quite ready with my calendar.
Oh, yes, September 28th and October 19th.
And by the way, I'm glad you moved that because September 21st is also the start of Yom Kippur as well, so really would have been a.
We try
Okay.
to check the calendars every year for that.
Mr. Bennett.
No, just one. Only thing is to thank you, Mr. Snyder, obviously volunteering, providing your services. But I remember when I first did my first 4 years here at the city, and people started terming out. And so now it feels like sometimes I lose people now that I've been here long enough. The 4 years plus has passed, but it's been a pleasure sitting with you, advising you, and I hope to see you on another board sometime soon.
Thank you. Board comments.
I echo
We'll
that.
start over here.
Sure. Only comment is I want to thank our chair. Did a great job keeping these meetings going and getting us out of here, and just really, allowing us to give feedback to, and did a great job. And I hope that the city will take its own recommendations from the commission, talking about people that have served in the chair and positions to be able to serve on other boards a little easier.
Mr.
Me?
Chard, that's your
Well,
last meeting.
I sort of feel like you do when everybody has already said the good things and you don't get a chance to. So I just double down on everything that they've said so far.
Thank
It's
you.
been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Mr. Strawn.
Same here, man. It's no, honestly, really been a pleasure, man. I learned a lot from you. I hated to see Mr. Brown leave when he left because he was also one of the elder statesmen that I listened to quite a bit.
Very much.
Yeah, and learned a lot from him. Just appreciate you being here, man. The way you ran the meetings, conversations after the meetings, man. I hate to see you go. Really do. Hate to see you go.
I would agree, even though it's been a short time. So
Yes.
yes, thank you for your service.
I'll come lobby you at
Okay,
home.
there you go. Yeah, just walk around the corner.
She lives around the corner.
You live that close?
Yeah, we
Wow.
do. I see.
We could also congratulate Dietrich for being reappointed.
I will.
If I
Mr. Coe.
could, just on one real other comment, though.
Yeah, please.
I'm sorry.
A real comment.
Yeah, a real comment.
Wow.
I've been seeing all these clothing and shoe donation boxes popping up
Oh, yeah,
everywhere.
yeah, yeah.
Is there an LDR for that, or is that
It's
just
not,
code
it is,
enforcement?
there is an LDR, it is not permitted, so code enforcement should be enforcing it.
Okay.
It is
Even if
actually
it's in a
not, because
parking
I
lot.
was on the commission when
Okay.
a private applicant tried adding them as, changing the amendment to allow them. It failed back 2000, would have been probably 2015 or 16. So they are forbidden in the city.
Who puts them out?
They're quasi nonprofits. They're really not. They're just scams, and they're supposed to be removed. There are some on county property within the school property we have no control over, because that is they're like a private island right in their school property. But anywhere else you see them, they're not supposed to be here.
Okay, so that's right away.
So you'd
in
have to call
parking
code
areas.
enforcement,
Okay,
yeah.
You're
perfect.
talking about the
Never
one up-
seen one outside. I've seen them inside of a lobby here and there.
Oh, they're all over popping
Are
up.
they scamming? Are they?
They're all big scams. Yeah.
They're all scams. Are they? That's a broad statement, but are they really? Are they?
I don't have any personal knowledge on the validity or not of those, but if they are not permitted by
They're just
the
not
Land
permitted by
Regulation
code,
then yes, if you see them, you can inform code enforcement, or even maybe staff, and we can relay it to code enforcement, and they can
When they're
research and look
outside.
at it. I'm actually not familiar with.
I think
this,
it's just
but
outside. Those
I
big
would've-
boxes that people just stick. Mostly it happens in these big parking lots that, that are, these old retail lots that aren't that used much, and they just stick them there. I don't even think half the time the landlords know they're there.
Probably a lot of garbage goes in too.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I
They
threw.
look like Goodwill boxes.
I threw
But they're not
30
Goodwill.
pair of shoes in one of them
Right.
recently. Now I'm feeling bad.
Yeah.
Well, you don't feel bad. I mean, some of it
Huh?
could be going to a good, I think they
What does
they,
a scammer do with a pair of shoes? Come on.
I don't know.
Maybe not refer to them in that way until you talk about this after the meeting.
So I will say, when we had the presentation it was a company out of Plantation that wanted to put the boxes here. They hired a lobbyist. They came up with a plan. So there obviously is some revenue source there.
All right, forget about that. I want to thank Greg.
Okay.
I think your military background is makes you the perfect guy, to keep us in line and to bring logic and rationale to a meeting. Every meeting that I've ever been in with you, here and others, you're the sounding board, the most logical guy on the board. So, and you've done a phenomenal job as planning and zoning chairman. I wish you would have been appointed to HPB, a few weeks ago or whenever that was. But you keep plugging away, keep applying.
Okay. I don't know about keeping it in line, but I'll go with rationale, logic, and whatever it was. I would like, a lot of people just said thank you to me. I'd like to say thank you to everybody. Rebecca is
yeah.
wonderful. Everybody in the department, you and Anthea and everybody else, and I'm sorry Susanna left because she deserves it, but every one of your people deserves it.
Right.
And all the board members. William is tremendous.
Yep.
All the board members here and all the board members that have been here before, like you talked about Chris Brown, but when I started, Chris Davey was the chairman, and that's the idol that I've looked up to do this job.
Right.
But the important thing to remember is I got this job on a coin flip.
Did you lose the coin flip?
No, I won. It's sad. But everybody, it's been educational, and it's been interesting, and it's been enjoyable. And I'll have to find something else to do now.
Great job.
We'll see you when you, I'm sure you'll be here.
Okay. With that, we're adjourned. Are you talking about the?
Sandwiches in the back in honor of your. So I think, yeah, she has some sandwiches back there for you all.
Oh, lovely.
I'm gonna go get my shoes back out of
Go
the
get your shoes back.
I am so pissed off right now.
Are you?